the first one, you have to find your slope and y-intercept. Many of you counted the slope, and then make sure you simplify. So simplified would be -2/5, which means every time I go down to the right 5, I should end up at another point on this line, and so on and so forth. You also needed to find your y-intercept, which happened to be this point from the slope. So once you have those two things, put them together in your y equals mx plus b. So y equals -2/5 x minus 4 was your equation for that one. Do we have any questions on that one? For number 2a, disregard 2b. Here, because you have a point and a slope, you need to be using your point-slope formula. So I would get in the habit of writing that down every time you go to use it. That way you start to remember it for the quiz and tests. Yeah. No. For this, you need to know all the formulas. M is your slope. Oh, what is it actually? -2/5. Okay. So if we're using our point slope formula for this, we have x1, we have y1, we have m. We would put each of these in this y minus. Our y1 would be 3. Our slope would be 1/2. X minus our x1 would be a -4. Because we have double negatives inside the parentheses, change that to a positive first before you distribute. If you start distributing and that's not changed, you're going to get something that's not the right answer. Then we can distribute and get y by itself. To get y by itself, add 3 to both sides. So y equals 1/2 x plus 5. So if you got that, good job. If not, double check your work. Make sure you're not just putting in this y value. I saw some of that. Because that's not your y-intercept. Two different things. Questions about that one? Say that again. How did we get to right here? Multiplied 1/2 to 4, so 1 times 4 gives us 4. 4 divided by 2 gives us 2. Okay. Other questions on that one? Number 4. This says something about a vertical line. So in your mind, if you see horizontal or vertical line, you should be thinking Hoivux. Not a nice H. Vertical line is going to be an x equals. So this is going to be some x equals a number. And then you look at your order pair to find that number. And that would be your equation. So these type of problems, you either know or you don't. You have to know your Hoivux, horizontal lines, vertical lines, x equals, y equals, all those things. There's no real work to do. Okay, questions on that one? Precious, you had a question earlier. Did it get answered? Did it? Okay, cool.
It was about the calculating, like how to combine, like the different things you put the fractions.
how do you put the fraction part in? Alpha y equals number 1. Okay, if you don't already, make sure you have out these notes from last class. We're going to continue on. And we did this top part. We're going to do this part of those notes today. Not those ones, these ones. Yes. You need one. Did you do the U-Haul pass? Do that? Yes. Those, the building notes, yes. Find this page. And then we're going to go through a few of these examples. But first, notice that we're given 2 points here. We have to somehow put this in the equation of a line, y equals mx plus b. We don't have m or b. We need to find m in order to find b. So we're going to be using our slope formula. First, and then we're going to go back and use our point slope formula from above. I know you guys have that written already. I'm just going to rewrite it. And then with number 1, we're going to find the slope before we do anything else. Same with all of these problems. Find the slope first. So this would be my x1, y1, x2, y2. And then I could write my slope as 4 minus 1 over 2 minus 3. And simplify. 3 over negative 1 would give us negative 3. Once we have our slope, we're going to do the next step. But do we have any questions on how we found our slope first? Then you have a choice. You have 2 ordered pairs. You can choose either one, does not matter. So let's say we choose the first one. We're going to use this x1, this y1, and our m in this formula. So it would look something like y minus our y1 is 1 equals our m, our slope is negative 3. Then in parentheses, x minus our x1 is 3. And then from there we would distribute and get y by itself. So distribute the negative 3. Be careful with your signs. And then to get y by itself, we would do what? Add 1. So y equals negative 3x plus 10 would be our final answer for that. Before I show you what if we chose the second order pair, do we have questions about that one?
Yeah, let's do it before. So you know how you said the 4 minus 1.
So if this is y2, I'm following this exactly. This is y2, we're subtracting, this is y1, and then this is x2 for subtracting, and then this is x1. So I'm just following this exactly. Okay. So then we're going to go back and do the other ordered pair. In a normal problem, you do not need to do both. I'm just showing you both. In a normal problem, after you find the slope, you pick one of these points and then do it. And that's it. Okay, so for number 1, if we're doing the second ordered pair now, it would be set up similarly. Y minus my y2 here is now 4. My slope stays the same, -3, then in parentheses, x minus 2. So whichever point you use, you're using all of that, x and y. I wouldn't use like this x and this y, or this y and this x. I'd use all of the same point. And then solve it. So y minus 4 equals -3x plus 6. Again, be careful with your signs. We could add 4 to both sides. Y equals -3x plus 10. Again, you get the same answer, just done a different way. The second way of whatever the problem is would be a good way to check yourself. You do it the first way, and then you do it the second way to see did you get the same answer. If you did, then you did it correctly. If you didn't, either you did the first one wrong or the second one wrong. Something is wrong there. Questions on this process or that answer before we move on? Angela, you look like you have a question. If you do have a question, ask.
So, on the first one,
Mm-hmm.
how do you get a positive?
Negative times a negative is always going to be a positive. Alright. So I'm going to skip to number 3. Same process. So we would need to find our slope first. So this would give us 0 minus -8 over -7 minus 5. If we did this math, we'd get positive 8 over -12. What would that simplify to be? So it would be negative. So that's our m. Then again, we have a choice, but I will say if you see an ordered pair that has a 0, use that one. It'll make your lives a little bit easier. You'll see why here in a second. So let's say I chose this ordered pair to use. Then I would set this up. Y minus my y value is 0. My slope is -2/3, and then x minus my -7. Change your negatives to a positive. And because this is -0, we can really drop the 0. And then distribute. In this case, when we distribute, this is going to end up with a fraction, y-intercept. That's okay. Sometimes that happens. We have y equals -2/3 x minus -2 times 7 gives us 14 all over 3. -2/3 x minus 14 over 3 would be our final answer. If you had done this using the other point, you'd still get the same answer, but then you'd have to be you'd have more fractions. You'd be multiplying to get a fraction, adding or subtracting to get a fraction. So if you have something with a 0, I would highly recommend that you use that point. Again, it doesn't matter, but it might make your lives a little bit easier. Questions on that one? If we had a problem like number 4, same process, find your slope curves. So we have 8 minus 3 over 0 minus a negative 1. What would your slope be? Positive 5. Because we have 5 over 1, which is 5. Again, if you have a point that has a 0, use that one because it'll make your life easier. But before we do that, if I just said, look at this point, does anyone know what that point represents, that ordered pair?
The y-intercept.
It does. So if you weren't sure about that, think about how you would graph it. This would fall right on your y-axis. So this would be your y-intercept. So if you're given that, you don't have to do the work. Because you have your slope, you have your y-intercept, you can put those together in your slope-intercept form. Y equals 5x plus 8. But that's only for if your x value is 0 and you have a y value, even if that's 0. If you're given your y-intercept, that's the only time you can skip those steps. If not, you have to do the work. Now, you may forget that that's the y-intercept and still do the work, and that's okay. Does anyone need to see that work? Okay. So then I want you to look at numbers 2, 5, and 6, and at the last page, numbers 13 through 18. And see which ones you want to go through, have questions about, want to see, want to do together, anything like that.
Which questions?
13 through 18 on the very last page, or numbers 2, 5, and 6 on the page we were just on.
Okay. Which one was the last page again?
13 through 18. It's okay.
I forgot.
It's alright.
You just say it. These 13.
Any of those we see we want to go over, have questions about, we want to do together? Feel good about this process? Because if not, you should probably be asking questions about going over one of these. Number 5. So first, find your slope. This would be 0 minus 6 over 0 minus a negative 2. What would your slope be? Which would be, simplified would be what?
3.
Negative 3. Are you given your y-intercept here?
6.
Yes. It's not 6, but you are given it. This point point right here is your y-intercept. Anytime you see 0 for x, that is your y-intercept. So then, because we're given our y-intercept, we don't have to do the rest of the work. Y equals our slope, x, and then our y-intercept. You can put plus 0 or leave it off, either or. Other questions we want to see or go over, or do we want to see the work for that one? Yes. 16. For 16, find your slope. We have -2 minus a -4 over -2 minus 0. What is your slope? Fine.
6 over -2.
Double check this one. This one is -2, yes, but this one wouldn't be 6. -2. Not negative, sorry. Positive. Because it's -2 plus 4. So then if we simplify this, it'd be what?
-1.
-1. Are we given our y-intercept?
Yeah.
Yes. What is that?
-2.
Not -2.
-4.
-4. So because it gives us our y-intercept, as all of these do, this would be y equals -1x minus 4, or y equals -x minus 4, either or. So if it gives you the y-intercept, you don't have to do the work. If it doesn't give you the y-intercept, don't assume your y-intercept. Do the work. Other questions before I let you practice? Say the end part of that question one more time. For 13, you would have to do the work because your x value is not 0. So that's not your y-intercept. So I want you to choose, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4 of the following problems. From this page, you can do, we did one. So 3 of the following problems, 2 or 6. And then on that last page, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, any of those. Choose at least 3 of those. Try them. Once you do those 3, if you want to do more of those, more of any of these, you can work on that. Or if you finish those and want to do your Khan Academy, you can do that. But try these 3, at least 3 first before you do Khan Academy. Let me know